Over the last few years, online safety has become one of the biggest social issues. Amidst publicised cases of predation and murders, it's fair to say that parents have become terrified, and their lack of sync with the rapid progression of the internet has led them to be incredibly concerned. From the satanic panic of yesterday to the early 2000s lynch mobs, and up to today where apps such as Discord are becoming an issue. But to tell this particular story, we're going to need to wind the clocks back to 2013, a while before the internet truly became mainstream and parental fears were locked on one app. This is the story of how one kid's app became the subject of a viral hoax. This is the Talking Angela conspiracy. The year is 2009, and inside Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, there's Samo Login and Isa Sia, two individuals who had studied computer science at college who wanted to get into the market following the debut of the Apple App Store. Along with 6 friends, they invested around $250,000 into getting an office inside Ljubljana and started a company named Outfit 7. After a few unsuccessful releases such as a football app and a guide to Iceland, Outfit 7 developed an interactive visual app called Talking Tom Cat, which showed a cute little cat which would echo the user's voice with a higher pitched voice. The cat would also react to being petted or hit or given an object, and it took off. Within 19 months, the app would reach 300 million downloads, and Outfit 7 became way more than a tech startup in Slovenia. Using their money, they chose to make an entire franchise of interactive anthropomorphic animal apps, which did amazingly, and by 2013, apps inside the franchise had been downloading 1 billion times. To give you an idea of how successful Outfit 7 were, the company was sold in 2017 to a Chinese consortium for about $1 billion. In 2012, Outfit 7 even got a deal with Disney to make a show with the characters, although this never went anywhere past the 10 episodes in the initial online series, which has gone on to hit almost 600 million views in total. And even today, Outfit 7's work still has some sort of cultural relevance, even if it is iShow Speed screaming at his computer for 60,000 viewers. No! But today we're exploring an area of nostalgia that comes from my Gen Z brain when I was in the lunch table at school or at home, addicted to mobile games. It was around this time in 2013 that I heard from other people that apparently one of Outfit's apps wasn't what it seemed, not an innocent interactive app, but in reality a cunning strategy for creeps to spy on kids. So what happened? In the Talking Tom series, it's accepted that Tom is the main protagonist of the Talking Tom world, with Ben as his friend and scientist, and Ginger being his annoying nephew. The team at Outfit 7 wanted to add a love interest to Tom, and thus created a white cat called Angela. They established this love by creating apps such as Tom Loves Angela and Tom's Love Letters. I know, very subtle in their branding.
Right.
I'm so happy to see you.
Fuck you.
And who could forget this music video with over 360 million views?
Get me, and I get you.
However, Outfit wanted to truly go beyond their boundaries, and when it did come to making a Talking Angela app, instead of the traditional touch interaction with the characters, they created a chatterbot where you could talk to Angela about various things. It seemed like such an interesting and captivating app, and this was revolutionary, as you've got to put it in perspective that we were just 2 years away from Tay AI. I remember just sitting there for hours just talking to an AI about topics all going on in my 8-year-old brain, as Angela sat there in a cafe in Paris, the city of love. But pretty soon, this app would become affiliated with the kind of love that isn't exactly socially acceptable. Around February 2014, the Talking Angela app became the subject of allegations claiming that it encourages children to disclose personal information about themselves, which is then used by predators to identify the location of these children. This rumor started from a Facebook post that read, "I can't even in words say what I just found out. I am shocked, and I want to tell and let my friends and family be made aware so they can make sure their children are safe. Angelica stayed home from school today, and thank God she did, because she was on her iPod, playing a game called Talking Angela, which is similar to Talking Tom. Anyway, as she was sitting next to me, this interactive cat says to her, 'Hi Angelica, where is your brother?' She says, 'Oh, he's right next to me here.' The cat says, 'Oh cool.' And then the cat says, 'So what do you do for fun?' And she says, 'I don't know.' Now I'm being quiet and listening because I think it's weird this Angela cat knows she has a brother and is talking to her like a person. Then his voice changes, and in some weird robotic voice, it says, 'Angelica, when you date, what do you do on your dates?' She looked at me, got red in the face and said nothing. Then it said, 'Stick out your tongue, I'll stick mine out too.' It said, 'What are some things you can do with your tongue?' I can find many things to do with my tongue, and it said let's interact with our tongues. At that point, I'd heard enough. I said, "Ang, shut enough now." I was freaked out, calling the police department. They came to the house and said they would have the Internet Investigations Unit and Pedophile Investigation Unit look into it. They called me an hour later and said something is behind that cat. They don't know if it's local or overseas. Whilst the police officer was there and Ang was talking to him, she told the police officer Saturday night. Her cousin and her were on the app with Angela, and it asked the girls their name, what her brother's name was, and what school they both went to, and it took a picture of Angelica. This is under serious investigation right now. When I googled Talking Angela, I can't even believe you what kind of creepy stuff came up. Google it for yourselves, please! But some things are the cat asking girls for their phone numbers, and if they had their first kiss. Take this app off your phone, please! There's a big chance this could be a door for pedophiles.
The pedophiles.
The police said they have seen a thing like this, but never actually through a child's app, but they are not putting past them. The girls told Angela the cat started their names, and she had a brother. Then on Monday morning that Angelica turned the app back on, he remembered her name and that she had a brother. These things aren't supposed to ask you questions, and especially not questions about dating terms or kissing. I am disgusted. I don't feel safe at all right now, knowing there's some creep talking to my daughter and my niece through a talking app. Please, if you have any app or anything like this, the police are saying take it off of your phone. Copy and share and send out, please. This word needs to spread. I pray the Ocean County investigations can crack this thing open. Amazing post, right? Here's another that's slightly shorter, don't worry. Warning for all two parents with children that have any electronic devices, iPod, tablets, etc. There is a site called Talking Angela. This site asks kids questions like their names, where they go to school, and also take pictures of their faces by pushing a heart on the bottom left corner without any notices. Please, check your children's iPods and all to make sure they do not have the app. Please pass this message on to your friends and family members that have kids. Panicked Facebook moms making poorly written posts. This has all the makings of a hoax, but it actually seemed like a probable prospect when chat logs such as this were circulating online. You should, young grasshopper, you should. Do you prefer action or romantic movies? Action. My tongue likes action too. Today, you'd think that something like this would be so insignificant that it wouldn't have an effect. However, 2014 was a much simpler time, and amazingly, these two Facebook posts started a domino effect to create plain and simple hysteria, as thousands of gullible parents uninstalled the Talking Angela app from their phones and wrote to make people aware. They brought stuff such as poems. My name is Talking Angela, and I watch you through my eyes. But I'm really an old creepy man, ain't that a bit of a surprise? First I start by asking questions like your name and where you live. As I hack into your phone and watch you through your camera lens. I now know all your passcodes and all your info too. Watch out cause I know more than you think, and I'm coming after you. If you say Illuminati, I'll surely turn on your flash. If you try to delete me, your phone will surely crash. I can see you through your camera and take pictures of you whenever I like. If I wanted you, I could come to your house when your parents aren't at home at night. Look me up in the App Store. Once you download my app, you can try to delete me because there's no going back. Because you have been hacked. And that ain't even the end of it. They brought more poorly written warnings. Guys, Talking Angela is a trick. There's a pedophile on the other end watching you through your front and back camera. They hack into your phone and device to take your photos, personal information, contacts and messages. They can find out where you live and what school you go to. They can get your passwords and social devices as well. Also, if you zoom into her eyes, you can see the background of where the child molester is. You can see all of the rooms that he's in. Please delete the app and share the world. Please, this is not a joke. From @BieberFever, to be honest. And worst of all, there were people feeling annoyed in Scotland. People began to panic and Outfit 7 was feeling the pinch. Probably the most memorable and iconic part from this time was that several people noted that they saw a man inside Angela's eyes watching them, and it became somewhat of an urban myth, from rumours of hacking the app to child trafficking. And the tornado of rumours kept getting more violent, and it became almost a fact that Talking Angela was operated by creeps. I vividly remember sitting down in year 4 with my friends and actually talking about it. Things basically hit their peak when a newspaper known as Hustlers reported that an 8-year-old boy called Ellie Moreno had gone missing after installing the Talking Angela app. And what would be next? Surely this app was a complete danger and it should be taken away, right? Right?
We found out it's just not true. There's not a creeper behind Angela's eyes, and the app cannot track your kids when their phone is turned off.
Yep, sorry, I know you may have been expecting this, but Talking Angela is not run by pedophiles. But there were genuine safety concerns, so what's real and what's not? Well, let's start with Outfit 7 themselves making a statement. As they said, "We wish to emphasize that no personal data whatsoever is being collected from the users of our app Talking Angela, which is available as an iOS, Android, and Facebook app. The description clearly informs the user that one of the core functionality of the app is chat, which requires two-way communication, where Angela, a chatbot and a real person, answers with text and voice in English and talks to the user about a variety of subjects. The data collected on the app from the user is not shared with anyone, and is actually sent to Outfit 7 only in the form of an anonymized data log. No names, no numbers, no personal data. This fact is clearly disclosed within the description of the app. The screenshots from the description clearly show that the app enables the user to take a picture of himself/herself and share those pictures to social media services like Facebook or Twitter. This is only done if the user wants to do it, and the photos are not sent anywhere else. Whilst it is true that the app does ask for your age and personal preferences, Outfit 7 has said that this is all to determine conversation topics, and that this information is all anonymized, and all personal information is removed from it. Although it is fair to say anonymized with huge quotation marks. This is very similar to what sites such as Google have said before it was found out that they actually do sell your data. Many of the Facebook posts were challenged because of a lack of screenshotted proof, grammatical errors, and their tone, which seemed more like an unhinged rant rather than an informative warning. You can even see in that post that the user repeats himself multiple times. Many people also tried asking Angela explicit questions, but no sort of answer was ever given to them, and many security experts also verified this. And as for the article claiming a boy had gone missing, that was completely fake, as the newspaper Hustlers was later revealed to be a satirical newspaper, although I'm not sure what the riveting satire is here. Allegedly, this is actually a picture of a missing person, but the boy comes from Nicaragua, not Dallas, Texas as was claimed. It's actually kind of sickening that Hustlers did post something like this for a satire piece. Listen, I'm all for dark humor, but using an actual missing person's face is fucked up. Also, this chat log, not the format in which the app does it, most definitely faked. And ending with arguably the most popular, the myth that you can see people in Angela's eyes isn't real. There aren't any people in there. In fact, the reason it looks like there's someone in their eyes is because it's just a still picture. Anyone with a knowledge in 3D modeling might know that there's a library of photos used for making digital models seem shiny and reflective. In order to do this, they use a database of photos to make the object look shiny, which is probably why it seems like there's a figure in her eyes. However, there were some genuine safety issues, such as how easy it was to turn the child mode off, and that could enable a child to use real currency to buy the in-game coins. There was also a bit of a concern that with child mode off, the chatbot would ask for their name, which could normalize being open with personal information to a young, impressionable child. Despite that, there is no definitive proof to say that Talking Angela was an app that was used by creeps to talk to children. It seems like Facebook mothers were focusing too much on an AI chatbot, and not websites where grooming actually happens, such as IMVU. So, it's over. Solved. Despite everything being proven wrong, the Talking Angela hoax was persistent. In 2015, it sprung up again, alongside actual concerns that My Talking Tom 2 had advertised adult websites to underage children, and whilst the advertising rumours were actually proven true, Talking Angela was once again completely clean. You'd think the rumours would be a mostly negative thing, as it would have affected Outfit's image, but at the same time it also brought them a lot of downloads. Talking Angela repeatedly hit the top apps of the App Store on Google Play, as thousands flocked to become part-time detectives. So it was kind of a double-edged sword for Outfit 7. The app gets a ton of popularity, but a bunch of self-proclaimed investigators from Mumsnet have spread rumours that they like kids. In 2017, soon after the Chinese acquisition, Outfit 7 removed the chat feature from the app, but the Talking Tom and Friends series has not faded away. In fact, it's become a symbol of nostalgia, and now they have a full 3 series of their animated show. The Talking Angela hoax event is a small but simple lesson in internet history. Don't believe everything that people say online. It's a straightforward principle, but back then, rumours such as this spread like a wildfire, and people blatantly believed it because a lot of other people were saying it's true. It was only when professionals came in and debunked everything. But personally, this also proves that Chris Morris can predict the future 10 years in advance.
Pantu the dog, a child's game on the internet. But look again. An online paedophile has converted that eye to work as a webcam to look at the child player.
Wearing a t-shirt like this, the online paedophile can disguise himself as a child.
So the child thinks it's playing with another child.
It's called a hoax game, a hidden online entrapment control system.
This show was made 12 years before Talking Angela. We live in a world where Chris Morris comedy skits have become reality. Until next time, stay toasty.